everybody out there. I think most of us, well, no, we got, today we have Stone, and we have my sister, Patty Walking Turtle, and soon to join us, I believe, are some other wonderful hosts. We have some great hosts on People for People, you know. It's really awesome, these shows. All you can see on the page on peopleforpeople.ning.com, tons of shows, all lined up on the right. You can look at videos, you can listen to podcasts, and so on and so forth. And this, by the way, today is our 500th show. Well, actually, not ours, but People for People. 500 shows. Yeah, that's a lot of shows. So you got plenty to keep you busy. You don't have to watch TV. You don't have to, get involved in any of the mainstream media. You can just come on People for People and spend your days 24/7 listening to all our beautiful, podcasts of information. Anything that you can think of, we talk about for sure. Hey, Van, so good to see you back. And Neo, Fairport, Cray Moo, On Gems, I hope I say that correctly. And it's good to see everybody. We were just talking about most of our shows are winging it, so we have our wings on today because not a specific topic per se, but I don't think that bothers us anymore because we always get into something really good, always, because we're just brilliant that way. That's what we are. We're winging it today, and I just had popped in a little note to Stone before about that we are all on, I guess we signed up for this, and when you sign up for something, there's certain territorial issues that pop up, like it comes with the territory, but who ever would have dreamed what we would be meeting when we signed up for this job? It's something like you just can't prepare for, I guess. So, and if you probably knew what was coming, you probably would have backed out. I don't know, maybe that would have been difficult. It's sort of like when you make an agreement, you got to be steadfast and be responsible for the agreements. So that's why I'm saying that, is because I think we are all here at this timeline on this earth because we all agreed to come here. Even you guys out there, the listeners, you're here. Your presence here on the earth at this time is very significant, and plus you're here listening to us, so that's got to be significant, I feel. So, just looking at all the stuff in the world going round and round and round, the circus continues as far as I know. I've just been looking at a few things, seeing somebody set themselves on fire near the White House lawn. I don't know, that was a strange thing, and nobody really knows why that person did that, but I'm seeing things.
Well, just to say, sis, I read a thing on there that said that he was on meth or something like that. Yeah.
Well, there's a reason, because I was going to say nobody knows the reason. Nobody knows the reason why this guy set himself on fire. But yeah, okay, well that's a very big reason, because he was on drugs, serious stuff there. But yeah, just looking around the world and things going bump in the night and bump in the day, and continuing the circus. That's where we are. I'm not concerned. I gave up being concerned a while ago. I think because I'm looking at the lead. Let's say the bait. See, we've talked about the bait that they're throwing at us. Bait to get us terrified. Bait to get us upset. Bait to get us freaked out. Bait to keep us attacking each other. On and on and on. So I'm not taking the bait anymore. And so something big is happening for sure. Bigger than I think, and it's going to get bigger. And I can't identify all of those things that are going to occur. I could probably, maybe we'll talk about some of that, what we feel is going to unfold for sure, and where we are, or let's say a percentage of people are being led. And I think we have to be alert and careful and aware of not being led, not falling for the game, or the circus, whatever. So that's where we are today. Again, thank you everybody for tuning in, and so I don't know where we're going to go. If anybody has anything specific that they want to, you want to just speak up right now about anything I've even mentioned in my opening here about the circus, about the whole, by the way, the circus is not just here in one part, excuse me, of our beautiful, wonderful, awesome world. It is everywhere, and we can see how things are lining up. I guess we have the fall of Theresa May. We have her backing out. We have Assange in the hospital. We have Nigel Farage taking position. We have Macron out, I think, right? I mean, this has all been in a week here. Wow, stuff is happening. Yeah, Trump just came back from Japan. And what do you think? Anybody want to jump in? Okay, is that better? I hope that's better. And welcome, Steph, and welcome, Star, from your river journey. We happened to hook up the other day by accident, and I saw you guys on the river. It was awesome, tubing down the river.
It was a blast. Yeah, we were inner tubing down the Styx River in Foley, Alabama yesterday. Yeah, Steph's like, is that your phone? That's Skype. Okay, well, here, put it on video. I'm standing in the middle of the river.
I don't know who that was, right? Somebody mysteriously called, I answered, and you answered. You're on the river in tubes.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Random, but yeah. I was like, fun.
Nice.
I can do it.
It was awesome.
It was. We had a lot of fun. There was rope swings, and so I'm watching my niece and nephews, and actually my sister and I did it too. Swung from the rope out into the river. And kids are like, is this over yet? When's lunch? Well, and I said, y'all need to just hush and enjoy it and go float down that way and leave me and your sister alone.
That's what we need to tell everybody. Just hush and enjoy it, right?
Go with the flow.
Yep.
You guys got anything you want to start out with?
I have really only seen about that guy setting himself on fire. It's whatever, man. I feel bad. I mean, what do you?
At least he didn't have a MAGA hat on.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially this time for once.
What was odd about it was he was just walking nonchalantly on fire. He was not flailing like you would think if you were on fire that you would be screaming. It must have been painful.
He was high.
And he probably
so
sees or something.
That's a terrible thing. Yeah, really. I mean, that's a sad thing.
Are we seeing demonic, straight up demonic stuff right in front of our eyes and on TV now? I mean, I don't know a better way to explain that other than demonic possession, demonic something. If he's doing meth, then he's going to be out there.
How did he get on fire? I mean, he had to have some kind of a thought pattern there to set himself on fire, and what happened, what that process was, I don't know.
And you would think that the Secret Service would have caught on that there was a guy standing on the lawn of the White House getting ready to set himself on fire.
It was in a park near the White House. Not exactly the White House lawn. That's the headlines.
Was it like a Richard Pryor moment? You're trying to light your cigarette, but you're so full of chemical that, like, literally you combust. I mean, it's not a planned thing. I'm not trying to be funny.
You mean spontaneous combustion?
Yeah.
Whoa, I don't know.
Another new energy weapon?
Yeah, there's a thought.
Wow, I'll say.
Well, Stone just said something that was interesting, too, that the guy turned up with the fire extinguisher fast, and he did.
Yes, she's right. That's true. Right there.
Did the guy with the fire extinguisher have a MAGA hat on? That would be points for, good. Just wondering.
I don't know. He had something written on his T-shirt, but I don't know. Did you notice it? Anybody? I hadn't really studied it, so I saw something written on his T-shirt, but I don't know. Was it "Make America Great Again"? I don't know. It was something. But
me in my head, the thought that went through my mind just now with that is like, I'm a water sign type of T-shirt, whatever.
Well, I'm a fire sign. Oops. But fire and water, yeah. We need them
Get
both.
steamy.
Well, what you just said, though, Star, about I believe that we are watching demonic action here. We are observing the demonics. I guess I don't know what the term is, like demonic effects in people's behaviors.
Manifestations.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I saw this video. I just want to say this. I saw this video of this people on a subway train, and a little boy, must be about 5 years old, and his mother and father were so smashed out on drugs. She was lolling around on the seat, and the dad was standing up and bending over and like totally overboard, unconscious stuff. And the little boy's saying, "That's our stop, Mom. Mom, that's our stop. Mom." Yeah. That's our stop.
A lot of stuff going on with parents and children that is really disturbing.
Oh my gosh.
I just saw another thing about that, and I don't even want to talk about it, but it was, you have to, it's just beyond me to think that you can bring a child into the world, and these aren't, these are children that are 5, 6 years old, and to treat them with such barbaric and horrible ways is just, but it's a sign of like you said, almost demonic. You have to almost see it this way, that they are not normal anymore, whether they were at one time or not, because we can't know the predispositions of these people. We only get the news blurb after the deed is done. So we don't get a synopsis of their life beforehand, like with the school shooters of like, he was a quiet kid and was having a little bit of issues and on antidepressants. We don't get to hear this about these parents that are doing this, but it's not just parents. This is across the board with singles, couples, people in high places. It's just amazing to me that we're witnessing this today, and it just goes to show me that things are really out of control in the people's minds. And now we've got 5G coming out. And I think that we're dealing with, and the vaccination thing now, to where they're going medieval on us with this. I just have to think that all of this is being orchestrated, that something bigger than we know is behind this. Something you might not be able to see it and touch it. You might not be able to put your finger on it, but there is definitely something that is happening to the people in their minds, to me, just saying.
Well, this is interesting. I'm just trying to scroll back here. Laws says demonics are manifested by our thoughts, just a thought. I say the demons are drawn by our thoughts and behavior. And that lets, demons exist. I mean, it's not like we're creating these demons. We're calling them. They are present, as we've all kind of found out, in a lot of our own ways. And we talk about that, and Kremu was reminded me, and thank you, of that I casted out these demons. Well, I was attempting to cast them out in that vision I told you, but they told me how we can hold them at bay, right? And that is, of course, by our being one with the light and the highest divine frequencies of that light, the power of the light, the power of the love and compassion. That is a frequency that is beyond our imagining. And the dark ones, the entities, said they don't like that stuff. And that's how we can hold them at bay. So if you're taking drugs, for instance, if you're addicted to something, you are vulnerable. Same thing with, addict to alcoholism, or even if you're a very negative person who has you're leaning more toward hate and negativity. That's what draws these entities. And once you are vulnerable to them, then you are basically overtaken by them. And they pretty much, I guess, can own you. And like we were saying before, I have noted many of the behaviors of people with their children, and some of them might be a boyfriend of a woman who does something horrific to a child, or their child, or a stepfather, this or that. Just the things that are happening to the innocent these days, the innocents. The innocents, they're pure, right? And they have a light. They're sacred. I mean, now, you've heard me say we are all sacred children. We are. Originally, we are all sacred children. And many people get off track and start falling down into the dark and their behaviors become more, or evil or dark or, nasty stuff. But these little people, they are innocent and they are the light and they are pure. But you have, this increasing violence, murder, various other things against these little innocent children. I guess you see one or two or maybe sometimes even 3 a day in the news on what is going on. To me, that's demonic. That is a deliberate thing. That's what I say. I don't know what you guys feel.
I was,
Go ahead, Star.
Thank you. We've got the lifting of the veil right now. The apocalypse, which is lifting of the veil. Or, the veil is disappearing so that we can see beyond it. That illusion that was there, that's being lifted. How does my show start out? In a world of confusion, illusion,
and delusion.
right.
Yeah.
That veil is lifting. So on one hand, are we seeing an increase in evil? Or because it is increasing, or there's nothing covering it or hiding it so much anymore? Is it growing, or are we just seeing how big it is? Does that make sense?
Good question. Anybody?
I think there's other things that are giving us clues also. We have the energies that are coming in, these different types of energies that haven't been part of our system, our ecosystem, our Earth, that we're being bombarded with now. The energies themselves are becoming errant. And with that, and you know how energy moves. It will move and it will be acted upon and become. And so we have a system in our governments now that is propagating as much fear and confusion against each of us that it can possibly bring to us. You don't have to watch a horror movie anymore. You just have to pay attention to what's going on around you. And it can put you in a state of fear. And once we're in that state of fear, we begin to exhibit that energy, which is feeding all the rest of the energy. It's building. So it's probably a little bit of everything. Like you said, Star, the veil is being lifted, so we are seeing a lot more. But on that same way, we are also seeing the positive more. We're seeing the truth more. Both sides. When that veil is lifted, the dark is seen as well as the light. And I think that I truly do believe that there is more of us standing in the light than there is in the dark. But the powers that be, whoever they may be, have done a very good job of promoting only that negative side. And so that's what we see when we turn on the TV or we turn on the radio or we get online and we start looking. We see all of these things that are happening in the negative. And, we're here on PFP, our 500th show. Yay. Just want to say yay. 500 shows, it's hard for me to believe that we've actually been here. But anyway, there are as many, I think, light workers, if you want to call them that, people standing in the light, people standing in the truth, their truths, and bringing up the vibration as there are negative. It's just that we don't have the venues that are afforded the negative side. And it is a battle. We've talked about this before, a spiritual battle. We are definitely in a spiritual battle. And it's a personal battle with ourselves and these energies. It encompasses everything, but the battle is between us and the energies and the demons and whatever you wish to call them. It's personal. And I think that at least the people that I hang with, you guys, I think that we've got the upper hand as far as standing in our truth and in our power and utilizing the light for the right purposes. So I don't know what's coming down the tube. I don't know what is going to be thrown at us next. But I can only expect that when we see a guy on the lawn in the park setting himself on fire and walking calmly around, and the things being done to people by people, we have to realize that this is a real situation. This isn't something that is not our concern. It is our concern. But we can't invest ourselves in the negativity. We have to invest ourselves in the positive, in the light, in the truth, and in love. I don't know. I guess that's about all I want to say.
Well, I think there's several things going on. If I might go forward with this, I really like this topic, and I think it's really timely. I think there are portals being opened, as we know. I mean, that probably, I think our awareness kind of got onto that around with the Hadron Collider with CERN. They said they are opening, portals. They were looking for the God particle, and they want to become gods themselves. And then we have the, was that the 5-wave or the G? What was that, sis, that computer? The guy said, we're going to be, reaching into the dark unknown.
D-wave.
Yeah, D-wave. D-wave computer, that it was like an alien god. Think of that, alien god. These are words these people are using. This creator of this said this is, when he stands next to it, he hears a heartbeat. And he said he feels like he's standing with an alien god. Now, okay, we've talked about alien gods, haven't we? That they've been here from the beginning, and they may have perhaps created a big mess here, all along. So reaching into these unknown dimensions and drawing out unknowns, whatever, for their to do with whatever they want. You think when you hear people talk like this, you can't imagine why on earth would you even want to do that or have this concept, that, let's go into unknown dimensions and work with these alien gods and pull out things that, we don't know what they are, but we'll see and maybe we could use them. This to me is madness, but I think we have the portals that have been being opened by the technology, and then portals that are supposed to be open naturally, because this is part of a prophecy that the portals will be opening as you're saying, the veils are lifting, and the veil across our eyes, or let's say the illusions are being lifted. Many people are seeing and awakening to the truth and the facts of what the lies. There's so many levels of things going on here, and then there are the demonic entities that are deliberately being brought in, that are deliberately being called in on top of what has already existed, and then they have us in a way participating with drawing these things to us out of fear and hatred and judgments and jealousies, which are low frequencies, which feed these entities. So these are like let's say I'm going to just throw this out, and you guys tell me what you feel. You have these entities that are beings of frequencies that are low frequencies. They need food. I don't think they're intelligent. I think they're easily manipulated, and and that is through, of course, frequency. So if you have certain persons or people working with technologies to deliberately open a portal to allow entities or the unknown to enter, because it's already been set up that here on the earth, for instance, people are in dire straits, people are angry, and people are raging, and people are lost, and people are drugging, and people are committing violence and rape and so on. So this is a frequency happening here. So let's open the portal, because we know what entities will come in and be drawn to those particular energies, right? So I don't know, what do you guys think about that?
They say what we need is a zombie apocalypse. I know it sounds funny, but what did we just say apocalypse means? It means awakening, seeing through the veil, seeing what's really there. So if we have all the zombies, all are ones that are lost in games, or the ones that are lost in drugs, or the ones that are lost in the Matrix, they're walking around according to the program, zombies. What we need is for them to wake up, to see. So quite literally, we shouldn't be fearing it. We should be hoping the rest of the zombies that are still programmed in the world wake up.
Well, yeah, I mean, that would be a very significant part of this, our entering into the fifth world, 1,000 years of peace, which is a higher frequency, a transitioning, which I believe we are all meant to be transitioning, even those that are deeply lost, or you could say, well, those that are, of that zombieism, zombie mind, or no mind, I don't know what you'd call it, that's stuck in that zombie world. I mean, we talk about the zombie apocalypse, we don't mean actually people coming out of the graves with skin and whatever's hanging from them, and we're talking about a particular, I think,
yes.
if I'm wrong, right, we're talking about people who are zombified through technology and through their disconnect and separation from their own inner truth and inner awareness, right?
Yes, like being dead to their spiritual reality.
Yeah.
Walking around in the haze.
I can't help but think of the Matrix at the beginning of the movie, where city or wherever the city is, and how everyone just seems to walk by, and it's like everything's a program around, that state of mind, and they're just doing what they're supposed to do, and they're not thinking about anything outside of what they have to do. I think a part of it for many people, though, is we're bombarded with all this stuff 24/7 now, due to technology around us as well. So the news from as far away as the other side of the world comes to you within seconds or minutes, as opposed to hours or days or months or years. So the amount of information that everyone is taking in has gone up too. So,
like an overload?
Yeah. And
the fears.
And struggling. I mean,
it puts everybody really inside themselves, and then they're walking around on their phones and not greeting, not seeing, not experiencing the world around them. That we're all in our own little shells, our own little eggs.
It reminds me of actually the kids, your nephews and nieces yesterday, wanting to be on their phones all the time. dude, we're floating down a beautiful river. It's 96 degrees outside. Enjoy your surroundings, we saw a hummingbird yesterday.
Yeah.
The likelihood of me actually have seen that little guy, because he was so teeny. And you could hardly see him next to I think there were cypress trees, but I'm not sure. But, if I hadn't been just noticing, I was lost for it. You missed the whole thing,
The beauty, just the beauty around you. The fish, the little guppies, and then the other fish, and then the dragonflies, and
the kids did see the fish, though. And I'm like, no, there's no fish in here.
oh, they were having fun.
They were feeding the little guys.
Bailey was feeding the fish. They were coming up. They had the bread and the water. They were coming up right there. It was so it's good. So the kids got to ground yesterday. It was funny because on show we can talk about this. It was supposed to be an adult day, and all the kids came along, and it was good that they did. But back to the zombies. The kids getting away from their games.
Yeah, it's the same thing. You have to unplug.
Yeah, but I think the other part of it is everybody's gonna have the truth right in front of their face too. Yeah. Not just the evil stuff, but I mean the truth of who's been behind the evil actions, that's been in our government or in our leadership or in our whatever, in our schools. It's the truth of everything, I think, is going to be the real wake-up call. And it's not just going to be one thing I'm feeling. It's going to be several different things at once. Meaning, either whether... But yeah.
All encompassing. It's changing entirely. Everything's changing. And it's a rapid rate that it's changing. I mean...
Yes, that's the shit. No time. We're in zero time.
And I don't think this is the first time that a person has stood there and burned like that. I seem to remember there was one in China or something a few days ago, or it wasn't very long ago, whether it was Japan. I don't know where it was. But I think these happen, I still think that it's getting better, though.
Well, it's interesting. The law said people are who they are, living out their soul connection, and that's a good topic in itself, because I agree with that. But does that mean that we just go about our business and ignore, these I'm just going to say these people who are zombified or lost, or for me, I agree. We are all living out our soul connection, but that doesn't mean that there's an awareness there on some level. Does that mean that we just ignore what's going on and not participate in any way, or not add to the light, or not offer prayers for the balance and harmony, or the healing of what people are suffering? I'm just gonna throw that question out there to you guys. What do you think?
I think that actually, the light is going to have to push against the dark, and it's always been that way. You actually had to have both. I mean, I doubt Source would have created darkness if there wasn't a reason for it,
Yeah.
Whether you call it creator, source, or whatever, I do agree to what you mean, being that, everyone has their own path and all that, but at the same time, the good has to stand up. And it's been for way too long that I guess we got complacent.
We have to stand up together, because throughout time, individuals have stood up, and they've been taken right out. And the rest of us cower. Oh, we don't want that to happen to us either. Well, one by one, we're going to get picked off. But when we can stand up together, we are that they can't. Light is within you. Creation, light, love is within you. Unless your soul has become dead and cold in that grave, so to speak. But remember who you are. You are a divine being here for a purpose that has a life force that the bad side's been draining us of. When we can stand up to it, we can cut that off. They will wither and die because they're not getting fed, for one. And number two, we're stronger because we're not getting leashed off of. And three, we're standing in our power as to who we truly are, and we're standing together. Male, female, whatever one you choose, whatever color you are, whatever piece of land around this earth that you stand on and want to call yourself. We are all bleed red, and we'll go to the bathroom and have kids and eat lunch. You know, we all do the same thing, one way or another.
Well, I think it's the what you're talking about. To me, you see, is that power. When we do what you're talking about, what you just said, when we do this in unity, and even if we do it individually, but certainly it's much more powerful collectively. That changes the frequency. Okay, that adds to it. That calls and activates a different frequency throughout the whole of creation and the whole web. Right, so it's sort of like I guess when I pray for those who are lost, who are caught, you know, because therefore, but the grace of God go I always have to say that. I can't judge and point fingers at those people and hate them because they're doing bad stuff. We're all challenged, you know. We are all challenged. We are all tempted in life, especially, you know, if you stand up and say, okay, I want to work for the good. I want to be the voice for the good and the balance and the peace and the harmony. I'm going to choose that. Well, you better be prepared because you are going to be, you know, meet challenges either way. Gaz has a question, you guys, so I'm going to read it out, and whoever wants to go with this. So question, when we discuss zombies as in being addicted to something, are we addicted to sourcing as close to the truth as we can find, and therefore would that allow us to be classified as info zombies? I don't know. Anybody have a response to that? If you're addicted, okay, if you are caught in an addiction, I feel you are owned by, let's say, by the entity of that addiction. I mean, in our tradition, the elders tell us, for instance, that alcohol and drugs bring in negative spirits, and then they run that person, they own that person. So, you know, if you're addicted, Gaz says, to something, are we addicted to sourcing as close to the truth as we can find, and therefore would that allow us to be classified as info zombies? I'm not quite sure if I get that question. Anybody?
I'd like to speak.
Okay.
Oh, okay, I'll go. I don't think that what we're talking about what we're talking about is the inability to think, the inability to have critical thought, the inability to see clearly and to investigate the truth. You know, everybody here, when we speak, it's because we did our research, we had the experience, we lived through it. So we're coming from a place of truth. It's not an addiction to us, it's a way of life. It's who we are. It's how we came here. And it's the same thing for other people. You know, when we come here, we have a choice. We can come here with a set of contracts, like we talk about often, about what our purpose should be here. That is only if we choose to follow that path. Those of us who do, then we're not, it's not that we're addicted, it's that we're following the truth, where we're getting led, you know? Anyway, I'm getting technical. Okay, I'm going to be quiet now. Go ahead.
No, I like what you're saying. Well, Laz says she's addicted to love for all beings on this planet. I like that. We can be that too.
See, my answer to that is, what does it bring you? What does it serve you? Like, does it help mentally, physically? Is that, you know, in a balanced way? So, yeah, if you're a truth seeker, do we get addicted to the truth? Well, I can't. I understand the question, but whatever you say you're addicted to, that would be the test for me. Does it help you become more balanced and positive within yourself, within your relationships, within your environment? And we've got long hair.
I mean, I think I'd rather be addicted to love than addicted to drugs or alcohol or hate or, whatever, right? The negatives. Because I think we're talking about, we have free will, and we all come here and we're given free will. We all have that ability. And I think it's important that people, that's why we're speaking about the frequencies and the power that we have. And when you shine your light, or when you start to awaken to the truths and the lies, you start to awaken more, and then you're going to meet the moment where you have to choose again. I think throughout our lives we are always coming to these crossroads, okay, so now the truth is coming out on certain things in the political arena and various other things that perhaps you were enamored of a political figure who was your favorite president, or the favorite who was maybe going to be president, or whatever, and you were addicted to that person so much that when the truth comes out about that person, you will be meeting in that moment where you will have to choose to either awaken to the truths or continue to believe in the lies, right? So we're going to be coming to that place pretty soon, I think, where the truths will be disclosed. Those veils are going to be lifting, and well, they are now. And I still see numerous people. Well, I do see people awakening, and I do see people still stuck in believing in certain persons or politicians, or even this system that we are under, the rulers or the authorities. You want to go through it. It's the church or the education system or the political system or the financial system. We've been so brainwashed to believe, and basically that veil was dropped across our eyes so that we can't see the truth of any of these authoritarian systems that have been ruling and running us and lying to us. Now all that going to be exposed? Is the light going to shine? When the light shines, you can see better, hopefully, unless you're completely brainwashed and still blinded by the light. I don't know. Well, maybe that song tells us something. Blinded by the light. Will the light blind you even more? Or will it shine into places that you could never, ever, ever have comprehended what's going on?
But we know, I think Q said that the public's only going to really know about 20% of what's actually been going on, because it would be too much for the normal Jane and Joe on the street to handle. And I believe that. And things are getting handled. We know Miller just resigned. North Korea is calling Biden
low IQ
IQ idiot.
Yeah.
It's just there's
Trump said he helped make us soothe it a little better, and he didn't say he eliminated the word idiot that Kim Jong-un said, right?
but they're starting to turn on each other too. So yes. The public's going to start seeing that.
Well, so what did he say? A certain percentage? And if you think about it, I've spoken to people about some of the things that I know that they just look at you with a blank stare. There's like nobody's home. It just takes them to a place where they can't grasp what you're saying. They are so deeply embedded into the lie, and what would it do to them? What would it do, when you realize that the emperor is wearing no clothes, and all along you thought there was this fancy furs and, various other things that emperor was wearing, and now you're told that the emperor has, sorry, but the emperors have no clothes. How do you deal with that reality, you know? And I think there's going to be a lot of devastated people, and you know, but again, I look at this like, okay, this is like out of the fire, you know, it's like everything, like the guy burning himself, right? It's like out of a fire. We call it the phoenix rises. So fire is a death, and then, but out of that fire in the myths is the phoenix rising, which means new life, right? And I think that's where we are verging into, is the flames are going to be huge. The fire, the light is going to shine. People are going to drop to their knees, perhaps. There's going to be a percentage of people who will tear their hair and gnash their teeth, as they say, right? And then in that moment, some may just awaken and some may not make it, right?
Barb, I love that you said the phoenix. That is exactly what we're doing. We've got the fires and the fire within our soul, the whole phoenix fire burning away that and purging, so that we can come out brand new, and we get to create our world in a positive way, the way it should be, in a more balanced way for all of us. It's going to be beautiful. We know it. You know, us that are here and are aware of our missions and why we're here, and we're out here trying to, you know, we're on the radio and we're trying to, well, not trying, we are sharing our stories and connecting so that we can help others get triggered for the good too. You know, that word isn't just negative. We've got things that trigger our thoughts and remind us of positive things, you know, memories from the past, whatever, that are positive. So we need to do the good things and the truthful things that are going to trigger your soul to awaken, not retreat into a hole and hide. You know, one of the things I was thinking about was the whole dissociative order. Steph and I were watching something put out by the BBC. It was by
60 Minutes.
Yeah, 60 Minutes, Australia. And it was Jenny's story. And it was for the first time that somebody believed her in 30, 40 years, that she was horribly abused as a child, and she had over 2,100 different personalities. And what the psychiatrist, I forget, and the inspector that was helping her, all of that, and the detective, what he came to understand is that all of those different personalities were there to protect her. It was a brilliant way that the mind uses a way to keep itself alive, to keep you alive. I mean, because something is so terrible, it says, you know what? I'm going to go play over here for a while and until this is over. And, you know, our brain does that naturally in really traumatic states so that we can survive, so that we can get through it. The dark has used that ability that our brain has against us. So when I tweeted and Facebooked this video out, I put it on there, something about all those that have been used in the MK Ultra, or just been through horrible things, and where they had multiple personality disorder, that it is not something to look down on. It is not a mental disorder. It is a self-preservation technique that our creator, our brain, our soul has put in there so that we can survive. You know, and then when the healing comes, like she eventually, all of her different personalities had to testify in court, which was at first. But anyway, it's called Jenny's. I'll look it back up.
I didn't see that video. I think I'll watch it. I kind of passed by it. You watched it?
I will. But all that was coming full circle in my head about, like I said, the MK Ultra and all those have been using, like the Super Soldier program, or, you know, where even all the ritual stuff bad guys have been doing, right? And what it's done to the kids and put all these different personalities in them, and there is healing to come from that. We can put ourselves back together. But that coming to light is a way to help so many that have been through this. It's going to be necessary for their healing, number one, to be believed, and number two, for understanding from others, the understanding from others of how, of how this happens and why it happens on a truer scale to help these people heal. I thought the timing was just interesting.
It is very interesting, and I work with people. There's 7 aspects of ourselves, and one of the aspect of ourself is called the survivor aspect. It's that survivor self that steps in. Let's say if you're being tortured, or if you're being violated, or if you're being abused, that disconnects you. So disassociation is what you're talking about, right? And disassociates you from the experience. It basically is self-preservation. You're right. And it's a way that person, that child, or that person can disconnect from not only the emotional horror, but the physical horror, the pain. And so that is an aspect of ourselves that kicks in. And the thing is that many people go through life in that disassociative state, and they can be healed, and they can, for sure, and they can be brought back to wholeness. But when you have, like we're saying, the MK Ultra, the systematic torture of people to basically disconnect them or disassociate them from who they really truly are, and then they use them, right, through certain trigger words, and continue to violate them or use them to commit to violence or murder, or blow themselves up or whatever. But I do feel definitely that you can heal this. Definitely you can heal this, So I guess just speaking, we're talking about people who have been brainwashed. I think the majority of humanity has some level of brainwashing that we have suffered. The system has done that deliberately, don't you think? I mean, the cabal, the elite, or whatever you want to...
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead.
To use this. I found that video, and I put it in, I think, our chat, and in the room chat. So y'all can watch it at your leisure. It's interesting. Very, very interesting.
Thank you. Yeah. And so we're dealing with a major part of our population throughout the world that have been under some form of brainwashing. Some deliberately, severely brainwashed, and others, let's just say, through the system, the education system, or various other ways, have suffered some form of brainwashing. And I think the political arena is a big part of this brainwashing. And then you have, of course, that's the government, or you want to say the deep state's deliberate, and the mainstream media's deliberate brainwashing of people. And I'm going to throw this out. I think ultimately we have that light within us. That light can get very dim, though, depending on what a person suffers. And I call that the spirit within us can get very dim. Because the spirit within us, if the physical is still alive, the spirit soul remains, but it can get very dim and lost from us, like our true nature can get lost from us, right? The fact that we are beings of light, or spiritual beings, and that we have wisdom and so on, that can be covered up by many of the lies and the information deliberately given to us or embedded within us that says we are helpless, that we are sinners, or that we are no good, or that we're not lovable. And so as these imprints begin to stack up, then our light, or let's say the spirit within us, gets pushed down deeper and deeper and hidden, and sort of, gets lost within us. But it's ever present, And I do feel that people have that light is longing to emerge. I think that's the way the spirit soul within us is seeking to emerge. And yet we are so inundated and bombarded with different information that dulls that spirit or covers up that spirit light of who we really truly are. I kind of feel that is within us. Until our physical self is dead, that spirit will always seek to emerge. That light within us, that soul within us, is always seeking to rise and to emerge into our awareness, our consciousness. What do you guys think about that? Okay.
Absolutely. I was waiting to see if Patty wanted to jump in so I wouldn't step on her again. Terry asked, does this happen after traumatic experiences or after torture? You know, like I said, it's any really severe traumatic experience to where it's too much for our current brain function to handle, and says, you know what?
I'm out of
Not
here.
right now.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm going to go over into this world. I'm going to create this world where I'm safe, where I don't feel, where I have no awareness of that horrible thing that's happening. That's that dissociation, that disconnect from reality.
Right. So when Q about, if they learn most of what's going on, it would send the majority of the people to the hospital because it would just be too much. And my thinking is that's what it would be. People would just check out. There'd be another personality takeover, or their hearts would fail them, as the Bible says. It'd be so much that someone would just die of a heart attack. Or
well, we're talking.
Jesus. Go ahead.
Yeah, what you're saying, and I agree with you, that the truth. Well, not only will the truth set you free, but the truth that we're talking about is so huge, so monumental, that I think that it could shock people. I think that's what he's talking about. He's talking about that level of shock, right?
Yes. Yeah. Because thinking about it, I don't know what else it would be that would just so instantly, unless it's like a plague that instantly comes on anybody. That's just not what it is. You think, if we just run through a short list here, we've got people in government leadership positions that believe and worship Satan and do terrible, terrible things to children that they should not. There's thousands, and other human beings. Cannibalism is a real thing. You've got dealing with entities that are not from Earth. So you've got the alien aspect of it. You've got a spiritual aspect of it that a lot of people are taught not to believe, even though we're supposed to. In any of these, you're boo-booed if you believe any of these. But it's not just this or that. It really is our entire reality that we've known it so far has been ruled and controlled by evil forces for the most part, with good forces fighting and incarnating here on Earth to battle it, to come to save Earth, to save humanity, to perhaps save this Earth mission, the last outpost. From what I read before, this was, Earth is special for many ways. For just my own visions and dreams, one night it's like my mind, I was taken way out in space and I could look at Earth and it was like a stadium was surrounding Earth. They're all here to watch. They're here to see. They're to cheer us on. They're here to help. Or what? And we have that now. What happens here on Earth is going to affect the rest of our galaxy, the rest of our sector of the galaxy at the very least, and so there's great importance on taking out the evil. And then if you go into all the prophetic aspects of this, we are supposed to be coming into 1,000 years of peace, at the end of which the final battle between God and Satan is supposed to take place. So,
well, hopefully we can
Yeah.
sit in the balconies and we can watch that battle, right? Because right now
Yes.
we're in our own battle.
well, we are in. Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
Earth, Vanessa says there's a fight club for the ETs. Yeah, on that level, pretty much, right?
I know.
Well, I think
Yeah.
this is I feel, when we talk like this, I still come to this sense of this is an awesome time because we are learning so much more about the dark and the light, about the powers that we do have, and the significance of ourselves being here, and the frequency of just compassion, the frequency of kindness, the frequency of love, how key these are to shifting the dark away, the imbalance away, and shifting things into harmony and balance. And each one of us is, I feel, so significant our hearers significantly to participate in either positive or negative. I mean, we have that choice. We have that free will. I think this is an awesome time. I think we're learning about who we were really meant to be. And that this is about that age of enlightenment. We are shifting into and transitioning into a new paradigm, a new timeline. And that has to do, of course, with the star systems, the cosmic realm, and the whole of the universe. We're not alone in this, as you said, and it is going to reverberate throughout the whole of the cosmos. That's what I feel.
I was starting to type it out into the chat. Enlightenment.
Oh, how are you spelling that?
INLIGHT.
Yes,
TUNE.
I like it. Enlightenment, yes.
In
Good.
yes, in harmony with each other.
That's right.
Or yeah,
Tune
it's your
light.
mind. It's the light and your voice. Universe. Uni is one. That verse is, one voice. One voice.
Yeah.
One song together in
One
harmony.
frequency. It's what we are. One frequency. The light is present within us. You don't have to go around town looking for a light. The light is within us. As I said before, I feel that light frequency, that frequency has been, dulled or dimmed down with all the garbage that's been placed on top of it. But the light is within us. That is our spirit. The spirit soul within us is light, is the light. Yeah, so I like that enlightenment. I say enlightenment. I like that enlightenment. Good.
Well, and still as cheesy as it sounds, love is the answer. Not because we're supposed to be all huggy mushy with each other, but because it raises your personal vibration, and that radiates out, and that raises the vibration of those around you. Mm-hmm. That is how love is the answer, vibrationally, within you, to empower yourself as you come back into one with your higher being, stepping into your higher being. You have that love, that life force flowing through you, and then that goes outward. So that is how love is the answer. Not that I need to go around kissing strangers on the street. No,
don't do that. Don't do that.
Don't do that. Don't.
Well, they'll
send them a vibrational love hug.
Well, who was it that said love thy enemy as thyself?
Right.
And it doesn't mean that you go over there and smooch up your enemy. It means it's that frequency that you hold. If you have that vibration of love, toward all, no matter, you are strengthening, not only strengthening, but you're expanding your light, that frequency of light that is so joyous. It's pretty extraordinary. It's truly healing, truly peaceful, very beautiful, very powerful.
In joy, we are meant to be meant. You're in perfect space, time. You're in the here and now because you are totally in the now to be enjoying. And that's, I just put that in the chat room too. Meant is what Latin or whatever for your mind. So.
Oh yeah, you guys want a tea break?
Are meant to be.
you want
Yes.
to take a little tea break? A tea break, that's a good thing. Okay, everybody, we're going to take a short break. Get your coffee and your water and do what you need to do, and we'll be right back. Hey everybody, we're back. Thank you for hanging out here with us today on peopleforpeople.ning.com. On the roundtable, we have a lot of great hosts. Every one of us has our shows during the week. Beautiful and powerful and wonderful shows, insightful things, and anything, any topic you can imagine we can talk about. I guess we're working on that. But anyway, thank you for being here with us. And we were just kind of discussing offline here about, some additional things of how best we can maybe, I've had my personal experiences with these entities, with frequencies, and various other things in my life. I know Stone has, and certainly I know my sister Patty has, and I don't know fully. I can't speak for Stone or Steph, but Star or Steph, but Stone suggested that some of us might share. I guess give some insight onto how to deal with or even identify, which I think is important. I think in the past we have talked about discernment, and we have to keep in mind we're talking about frequency, energy. So if a negative entity or something that is out of balance or harmful or dark or even demonic comes into your sphere, you have to have an awareness of what that frequency is, what it feels like, so you can identify it and protect yourself. And I think that's very important, so that we're not vulnerable, for sure. But again, if we hold ourselves in the light or step into that light, as Star often says, we are protected. If you hold that frequency of that light, you are protected, and you're more aware and awake of something that is completely opposite of the light. Okay, so Stone, why don't you step in and share some things?
It's good to be here, and yeah, for me it's about being able to identify the different dimensions and different energies that surround us. I mean, we have a certain spectrum of visual, but we have other senses that can pick up the information. It's a matter of getting to know who we are and where this information goes and what it is it's actually telling us. It's like if you go out there and somebody says something and suddenly you get goosebumps, or your hairs stand on end. Is that because you can relate to the actual experience that they're having, or are you going are you feeling other presences in the room? You start breaking down what you're saying, because I'm now in the understanding that our words are like when we use our words, we're using different frequencies, and these frequencies are keys that open other doorways, allowing other entities to come in. It's like an invitation. So I'm now very cautious with the energies that I put in with the words that I'm using. Now, this is only because by doing, when I first started realizing there's more to this, and it just keeps going. It doesn't end. There is no end to this knowledge as far as where I'm coming from. I'll get to a certain level of understanding of information, and I'll start trying it, and I'll experiment with my findings and how far I can push my limitations, how long I can stay in these different dimensions, and how much information I can bring back. Then I try to apply it in this dimension and see how it works together. It's like I'm not going to cut myself off from this information, because I feel that it's building both my character, my information, allowing me to be able to communicate on different levels, on different frequencies, and the more I do it, the more the information comes in and it becomes clearer for me. I've really enjoyed sitting here having listening to you ladies and chaps today, and it's great, because we've all had these different experiences. Now, I've come across people that have said to me, they're intrigued by the experiences and the amount of people who have experienced, encounters, and yet they say they don't have any, but it only takes a little bit of self-recognition to realize, yes, you have been interacting this whole time. Everything around us, the density that we are in, the dimension that we are in, is we're not just the only inhabitants in it. There are so many other forms of conscious awareness that we are interacting with, even if you cannot physically see them. We're quite aware that the ways that we communicate with our environment, with other light beings and energies around us. I have to disagree in some areas. I don't, when it comes to the light and the times that I've seen it, I no longer choose to go towards the light, and at the same time I know the depths of the darkness, and it's pretty bad. And to be able to find the balance of the two, so that's my safe ground. I know when it's getting too heavy for me or when it's getting too light for me, and so I can find that peak, and I know the different emotions and how my ego will try to be picked up by whatever other entities are around me to be used. I see the different emotions creating different energy signatures, which allow these feeders to come in and try and control. So I'm past the parasitical stages, so that when I see them, I tell them to, you're not needed around here, and no, you're not going to do any more damage. But it's a matter of being able to teach the others around you, or show the others, about the frequency, about the information around us and the symptoms. So, at the moment I'm working with people who are quite outspoken, but you can also see the different traumatic states that they've gone through, and this prevents us from being able to stand up and speak to our highest potential. When we can turn around and say, well, that's not correct, I know that what you're doing and saying is actually going to be harmful to me later on, I'm going to have a reactive sort of, response. I'm going to either break out, and we have these reactions, and they are symptoms of what we are going through. There's an area within us that is having trouble analysing the information coming in. So when we go into these different states, now there's a lot of information out there. I mean, people meditate. I couldn't meditate for years until I realised I was already doing things that I was meditating in. Just because I wasn't sitting on the floor with my mind clear and stuff doesn't mean that I didn't find a pleasurable meditation ironing clothes, vacuuming the floor. We find ways that we start talking to ourselves. We start listening to our inner voices, and we realise that there's a bit more to us that's going on than just this 3D vessel living our 9-to-5 realities. When I used to call it night terrors, and for me it would have both the physical and mental impacting, and it was the label that others had put on it that terrified me in the first place. The fear factors that came in, the different programming throughout the day, the week, the month that was used against me to stop me from bringing back and remembering the information that I had gained or accessed on another dimension. yet I now see it as these are now keys that as soon as I know that I'm going into a certain physical or mental state, and I start seeing the signs that, okay, I know that this is not actually the reality that I live in, and that these, there's little keys that I've put around myself, like little landmarks that I can now see when I go into one of these dimensions. I know where I'm at pretty much immediately. They're like signposts for me. So once I'm in there, I know the persona that I'm going to take on, the different personalities that I need, because that becomes a frequency. That's my frequency signature of how I'm going to behave, what my abilities are when I interact with certain beings that I've regularly interacted while I've been there. I take with me the trust factor and knowing what different creatures, I can trust and what I can't trust. I don't personally trust. There's nothing that I can trust. I cannot even 100% turn around and say I trust 100% within myself, because I don't fully know all of the answers, and that's the fun part. That's the adventure for me, is breaking down who I am and what this journey is actually all about. So looking at the different things that come in, I mean, for me, there's a lot of frequencies coming in. I'm getting a lot of pictures all the time. And with these pictures, I sit there. When I say pictures, I'm not saying pictures like on the wall. I'm saying pictures as in key notes to frequency, for those who get caught up on my accent. But, we do have a lot of senses about us that can tell us what we're interacting with. We've got a lot of stuff in the history books telling us of people's different encounters, and we should definitely be at a state now where we can recognize a lot of these different entities that have come in, and what they're doing. Now, for me, with the light and the dark thing is, you can be blinded, you can get lost in the light, and you can get lost in the dark. It's like, some of the encounters I've had in the darker dimensions, there's good within the dark. This is just where they were raised. This is like, for me, I have to take experience into account here. I was raised in a situation where it was completely dark. The environment and all the entities were dark. But within that, there was also light entities. There were also good entities. And I only got through it because I was able to recognize it on another level. Now, we are really, really complex, conscious ability. We have so much available to us. We know what's going on in our environment. Now, this is the other thing I want to get to. With that chap running across the lawn, setting himself on fire. For me, there's too many elements to it that don't sit right. We know that there's a peak in the different forms of technology that they've got out there. We know the different, we can only suspect unless we've seen one close up, and we know the details of clones that are out there, and the different robots that they've got out there, the different control, mind to skull control, voice to skull information. There's so many different areas and aspects that we could turn around and get hung up on in trying to analyze just one incident that took place. Now, if this was a person who actually felt the need to go and do this, and they wanted, this is their way of ending it and moving on and making a stand, or whatever their reasoning behind it, if it was even real, then, there's another aspect to it. Now, we can sit there forever and analyze it, or we can go, okay, now we've come to a certain stage where the manipulation is so intense that we need to be able to see it and identify it, recognize it straight away, so that we don't get caught up in it and carry on with the work and the energies that we are already, working on at identifying what's coming in. We talk about the portals and stuff opening up. A long time ago, one of the things that kept coming to me was, we are the conduits. We have that energy. And then I started going into portals and stuff and started seeing them appearing around me. And it was, when you're not aware that something is going to appear out of the blue like that in front of you, you have to pull on all your senses. It's like everything in your physical and mental come to a halt. And everybody else around you don't know what the hell's going on with you. But as soon as you can identify the different dimensions and aspects of it, you can better protect yourself, better prepare yourself for what's actually out there. There are so many areas of this. It's never ending. We can break down till the cows come home.
And by the way, what happened to that cow?
Oh, there's so many holes in the fence, and we just chase it up the road, and one opens the gate while the other one runs back with a stick, yelling and screaming like a loony. We get it worked out at the end of the day.
Sounds like a fun time. So, Patty, you have something you'd like to offer?
Yeah, I'd like to, my experience throughout my whole life, I've had what are considered the paranormal experiences. I slept in a room where the ceiling dripped continuously 24 hours a day, only in my room, where my little brother would come in there and freak out just because he was in the room. I have had come face to face, although I didn't see, but I could feel that there was evil entities, that there were entities that were of such a negative frequency that it was like a force that was pushing against me. I think that, but yet all through my life, up until recently, it never did actually touch me. I saw it for what it was, and I discerned what it was, and I could walk away from it. And I did many, many times. In the cases where I couldn't, I simply ignored it and didn't have to deal with it. Although it was there right in front of me, I did not give it the validation because it did not belong in my life. It did not belong to me. And I think that's how I've walked through my life, is I know who I am in my spiritual aspect, and it's the most important part of me. And it is that I rely on. I also use my mind, and I combine the two, reasoning and my spiritual strength. I think this is important that we realize that each of us are responsible for where we stand and the strength of who we are. And if we put all our eggs in one basket, like we say, okay, I'm going to experience the physical world and I'm going to be wholly physical, you're going to experience everything in that physical sense. If you come to it from a spiritual sense, you have a knowing that is fine-tuned to you, and this knowing is a discernment that is true and is right. And although your discernment may be different from mine, yours is just as valid and true. None of us see things the same. None of us feel things the same. But each one of us has the ability to stand in our own strengths, in our own truths, and to discern what is acceptable in our lives and what isn't. It's when we put credence in what others say. It's when we put credence in words that are written and we adopt that we step away from the truth of who we are. And for me, I see now more clearly than I ever have that there is indeed evil and there are entities in this world. Whether it is because the veil is being lifted, I don't know. Like I said, I've had experiences my whole life. I could go for hours telling you about stories. But the main thing that I want to put across, I think, is that in our lives, we are the control. What we allow will persist. What we won't allow cannot persist if we are true to ourselves and to our convictions of who we are. We can't say that we will never be affected by negative frequencies, negative entities. We can't say that because they're everywhere. But what we can say is I will recognize them for what they are and accept that they will be who they are. But they have no rights to me. And that's how I move through my life now. I have a mantra that I just recently created for myself. It's a personal mantra. And it works for me because I have conviction in that mantra. And I know the truth of it is within me. And I think that's where we all need to come from. We can look at life and we can say, oh, well, that person is this and they caused this and that, and this is why I'm this way. But it's not. It's who we allow ourselves to be and the strength of our own convictions against these attacks to me. Just saying.
Well, thank you, sis. What I hear you saying, and we've talked about this so much, is you have that spiritual connectedness. You have that spiritual foundation. So you know, like you're saying, I know who I am. And when you have that piece about your spiritual connectedness, that is the foundation that I think is really key, because there's no doubt you don't waver in your inner knowing and about who you really truly are, the power that you have with that spiritual connectedness. And this, I think, is really important. And Gaz has a question here. I'm going to throw it out to you guys. So he says, well, actually, it's a statement, but it would be fair to assume that unless we are aware of what's what, we ultimately can become the portals. And that's what we're talking about. I certainly agree. Unknowingly, we are vulnerable. And again, it has to do with our connectedness to spirit and our power, our strength in that, knowing who we are. More powerful, I guess, if you have that connectedness, that spiritual connectedness, but also your awareness and your, the understanding of frequency and energies, because what is positive, or let's say of the light or harmony and balance, has a different frequency compared to what is dark or evil or, looking for food or looking for to be fed something. It has a different frequency. This is where we are today, is learning more and more about ourselves as beings of frequency, that everything in creation has a vibrational, a frequency. Nature itself has its natural frequency, okay? There's no ego in nature. We are the ones with ego, and we can get, have our ego rise up, arrogance, or even the state of prejudice or hatred or jealousies. Nature is not that way. Nature holds its natural frequency. But we struggle with this, with understanding who we really truly are, beings of frequency. And of course, if you have this other connectedness to the spirit within us, that's who we are, and that is a powerful frequency. And that relationship that we have to the source, which is the one that created us, and I feel is in a particle, we are a particle of, part of that creation is that frequency. So yeah, if you're not aware of what's what, and I guess we're talking about the what's what here, and sharing this so that people can become more aware. Does anybody else have anything they want to say on that, or anything else?
I just want to add.
Oh yeah,
I just want to add real quick that I'm not saying in any way that I've got it up on anybody, because I don't. A couple months ago, I was shaken pretty badly to my core, and I know that many of you have heard about my story and know it was real, and it was one of the most horrific things I've ever had to deal with, and something that I had an inkling that something was wrong, but I ignored it. I ignored that inner voice that was telling me, because I had the choice to remove this entity from my home for quite some time, and I kept putting it off, saying, it didn't mean what I thought it meant, and da-da-da, until it blew up in my face. But the one thing that did happen through that is I did not falter. It took me back. It blew my mind. It put me in a place of sheer shock for about 30 seconds. But it was my love of life, my love of family, and the strength of my spirit that was, it stepped up. And there was no thought. I didn't reason it out. Well, you go against this 6 foot, 200 and something pound guy, and he's going to kick your butt. I didn't say that. I didn't think that. I simply put him out of my house. That was the strength of spirit, the conviction of who I was and what he was, and that I had the power. And I did have the power. This is what I'm saying, is that we don't have to say, well, I don't want it existing in my life, because it is going to exist in your life. Each one of us are going to have to face it, and we're facing it more and more every day. The thing of it is that we have to realize that we are so much more powerful when we stand in our truth and in our spirit, that we don't have to fear, even though we may initially fear. If we simply fall back into who we are in our spiritual aspect of self, we can move it, we can push it, we can get it out of our lives. We have that power. We don't have to give in. Just saying.
Thank you for that. Powerful information. And what always comes to my mind is it's like the split-second fear. It's like a split second. It's not even a split second. It's less than that. It's sort of like, something comes like a blink of an eye, and then you're in your power. Because I've experienced that. When I was dealing with those sorcerers, I didn't hesitate for 1 minute, because wholly and fully within me, I knew the power of light, and I knew the power of who to call upon, to hold that frequency of light and the power of that, and to call upon those beings of light. And I went through that, that I told you that vision, but it's a split second. It doesn't take you, because you have that foundation, you have that knowing within yourself of that powerful connectedness to that source and that light.
Yeah, and we all do.
Yep. Anybody else want to step in? We're getting toward the top of the hour here. Let's hear some more wonderful stories.
A saying that I've had for years, something I've always said, is this little, I might have heard it somewhere, I don't remember. Don't be so heavenly minded that you're no earthly good, nor be so earthly minded that you're no heavenly good, but rather be presently minded to always do good. And that came to mind because of what's being discussed. We do actually have one foot in this world and one in the other, and we often forget that we still have that foot in the spiritual world, because we are the spiritual beings. So if you think about how I say step into your higher self, you've got one foot here, so step into from a higher perspective, and that way you'll know better as to what you're battling, and you'll be standing in that power, so that you immediately will have within you what to say and do to come against, because you know to step into that higher self, because you already have the knowledge within you that you have that power. So therefore, when you can have that balance between this world and the next, remembering who you are spiritually, it's much easier to step into your higher self, to step into the other foot that's in the higher realm, so that you are immediately connected to what tools are needed in that moment to come against the evil, to do that battle. It's not that you have forgotten or you don't have, any connection to it. You do. You do. That's what you have to realize. And again, with my words, REALEYES. Realize what you're up against and who you are and the power you have within you. Because we've discussed it before. We're in you're seeing it on TV. We're in it now. Now it's time for all of us to step up. And it's not just us here saying it. Q's been saying it. Others have been saying it. The messages, the guided messages coming through have been saying it. It's now. My own experiences, I've seen ghosts my entire life. I've discussed them from time to time. I remember as a very small child, probably my sister wasn't around yet, so I was under the age of 5. At my grandmother and grandfather's house, it was a 3-story old Victorian farmhouse in northwest Ohio. They didn't use the 2 upper floors. We were all, except Grandma, we're in the living room watching the great big console TV. And Grandma was in the kitchen washing dishes, and there was, shouldn't be anybody else in the house, but there was a very tall man in a straw hat and blue jean overalls that walked from the little sitting pantry or sitting area right behind her into the pantry. And so I get up and go ask her who was in here. And there wasn't anybody in there. She didn't see it. She didn't know it. I've seen ghosts in a lot of the houses I've lived in. I've had some experiences with evil. And I stood up to it. And it's amazing the power that, it's like no matter what I was going through, when that moment came, my spirit just knew exactly what to do and what to say. And there's even been some random moments that I can't really explain. I was at a friend's house one time, and this other dude came to visit. His nickname was Cherokee. He was I don't know his percentage, he was half Native American or whatever, but it's like this other language I have just started coming out, and he's looking at me like I had 3 eyes. But I felt compelled, and it's the best way I can say I felt compelled and I did ask him. I said, I'm not going to hurt you. But I had to put my hand on his chest over his heart, and I was saying something. And when I have these things, I'm double checking myself. I'm like, this is positive. This is from higher being sources coming through. And he just kind of stood there, and Steph's felt this when we've held hands or had things. It's like a very strong electric pulse magnet, I guess, in the palms of my hands. I don't know how else other to describe it, but that was that feeling. So anyway, that's just some of I have so many more experiences. Little things that were in my room as a child. There's a little, I always wanted to call it a little gargoyle. And I've had mixed feelings about why do I have a little gargoyle around me all the time. But they are supposedly protectors. It was always crouched behind my door in my bedroom as a kid. And then later on in life, about 20 years ago, when I was guided on how to do a meditation, it's like imagine yourself in a white room with a blank wall and that's your screen. Whatever you want to see is going to be on that screen. So I'm imagining this room, basically it almost looked like a little white padded room. But in my mind, I was going into this room, and I looked down, and there's this little... And because I've been raised Southern Baptist Christian, a lot of these experiences that I've had to go through my own purging within as to, okay, is this what I've been raised to believe, that all this is evil? Or as I've done my own research and done my own searching and followed my own, me asking God, source, what do I do with this? I've learned and I've gotten stronger for it, and I am a spiritual warrior. I wrote a poem. I've got it on YouTube it's a very powerful poem. We are spiritual warriors, all of us. We do this battle. I'm just talking randomly here, but there's a lot of ghost experiences, etc. A lot of there was a very strong period for a couple of years when someone, well, I think it was when I was really starting to wake up to my empathy. I guess I can say that now with clearer understanding. Whenever we pass an accident on the road, for example, I knew exactly where they were hurt. I mean, and we're just driving by. Like, you know, we can't stop. They're being taken care of, whatever. We're just driving by, and I'm like, it's cracked his head. She's got broken ribs, you know, there's a kid trapped, whatever. I can see it. And that freaked me out for a while because I didn't like everything that I was seeing. It hurt. I could feel it. But being raised the way I was in church as a Christian, my first instinct was to pray for these people, to lift them up in prayer for healing, for protection, so that God would take care of them and bring to them exactly who they needed to help them. So that's my own, there. I could go on for a long time about experiences, but as far as doing battle, I'm not sure I really want to discuss some of these things at this point.
Well, thank you, Star. Yeah, so we're just 5 minutes. Why don't everybody just say one last word? I guess, I can't believe 2 hours is up, but let's just say a sign-off. So much gratitude for everybody staying with us here. Love you all. And Steph, why don't you give a sign-off, and then we'll go around.
It's always...
Lost you.
On right. Can you hear me okay?
Well, you just blocked out a bit. Now I can hear you.
All right. Anyway, yeah, it's really cool to listen to. We all have the same... It seems we're all on the same road. I don't know if it's road or pathway or... It's just really cool to be here and love listening and watching the chat room too and the different comments. And yeah, I'm watching through Star's computer here. We kind of have a topsy-turvy makeup here. But it's really great to be here and be the light and be the change, everyone. And love you all.
Okay, so Stone, do you want to say good night to everyone?
Yep, okay. Just want to say congratulations on the 500th episode on People for People. Great, fantastic. It's awesome to be part of a great bunch of explorers and adventures, and just be careful of the light that's coming straight at you. You know, you never know if it's a train or a truck. So be cautious on all your journey and do it the best that you can. That's the best we can actually do. So cheers to everybody for sharing, and I'll catch you next week.
Patty?
Well, guys, it's been a really, really good 500th show today on PFP. And want to give a shout out to the chat and the awesome communication there. And, you know, I guess if I'm going to leave you with anything, it's going to be to live, love, laugh, and stand strong, because this is your life, and it's only what you make it. So let's just have a good time. Let's just bring in the joy, like Star was saying. You know, we can do this. We can change everything simply by changing the way we see life. And love you all. Thanks for listening.
Okay, so Star, you just want to say a sign-off here? Or did y'all disappear? Okay, everybody, I think that's it. We all said our goodbyes and our loves, and this was an awesome show, and what's really making it awesome for me is seeing all you guys in the chat and all your input and responses and being here with us today. And thank you, Gaz. Yeah, it was a record today, 500 shows. Okay, you guys. Yeah, you got a lot to listen to. It was, again, wonderful hosts, wonderful shows, many, many good pods of information, insights, all about whatever you might need, whatever you might be thinking about, information, guidance, or personal experiences, personal stories, fun times too. Okay, so I just want to thank you all again for tuning in to peopleforpeople.ning.com, and we will see you